Hey, welcome to another episode of GeekOutdoors.com. So the official trailer for Blade Runner 2049 finally came out, and I actually have a lot of thoughts about that and a few other things about Ridley Scott's other movies and also remakes in general. So as we're watching this, the very first intro of it, it's very reminiscent of the original Blade Runner in 1982, and that is something that's great for people who are familiar with Blade Runner, and they did that for nostalgic regions, of course. But as you go through here, this is really cool. That's a shot. That's an Atari logo. That's really cool. And so, right at the beginning, you're taken back to this world. Okay, so that's very, very reminiscent of everything visually that I remember from the original Blade Runner. And then as we get here, we finally meet Gosling and this new character, and I can't remember his name at this point. And then we have Jared Leto, who looks to be the main bad guy. Okay, and here is a replicant. And I might be going through this a little quick because I just want to catch like the highlights. You could actually watch the full trailer on your own. But that's a new replicant that's just built. And here, we get into the whole cityscape, and once again, lot of homages to the original. Okay, just like when Harrison Ford was walking through the city, you get a shot of everything. There's Robin Wright. I don't know what's happening there. And yes, this is Blade Runner through and through in terms of the look right here. And I'm thinking that is a replicant, very similar to the original Blade Runner, where I forgot her name now, Sean Young, or Rachel. She was basically Decker's love interest in that movie, and she was a replicant, and it looks like this is going to follow the same thing. And this director, Denis Villeneuve, he is an awesome director. I absolutely enjoyed that movie, The Rival. That was probably one of the best movies I've seen in a long time when it comes to sci-fi. And he did Prisoners, and he did another movie as well, but he's a very well established and talented director. And so, as we go through here, you finally get the scene where Ryan Gosling's character finally meets Harrison Ford, and we saw this in all the teaser trailers. And there's Harrison Ford. Still, Harrison Ford, man, he's been around for a long time, and I think he's like 70 or something. We're pretty close to it, but he is still an amazing actor, and so you go through here. Not sure what the whole purpose of this movie is in terms of the storyline. And I'm thinking this girl is probably very similar to the Daryl Hannah character. Okay? Which is, I'm guessing that's probably what that is. She'll be a main antagonist, and she's probably an antagonist too. Probably these replicants are out to, take out Ryan Gosling, whatever the character's name is, and then there goes action scenes, and yep, she looks like an evil replicant. She might be the Daryl Hannah version as well. Maybe there's two of them that's like Daryl Hannah, and then here is a homage once again to the original Blade Runner, where there was a folded paper bird on the original. Here's a crane, and if you watch the director's cut of the original Blade Runner, especially with the eyes where it's like kind of glittering like a little bit, or it's kind of orange, that's a sign of a replicant. And the director's cut kind of left you to think whether or not Decker himself was a replicant. And even in this trailer, they say that Ryan Gosling's character is special. So overall, what I thought about this Blade Runner 2049 trailer is that I'm going to be biased because I don't think it looks as good. I mean, that's kind of crazy to say, but I think the original 1982 trailer looked better. You just got to remember, this is from 1982. So you know, here's the intro, and then as you're going along here, look at that. This is from 1982. That still looks amazing today to me. It still holds up extremely well, and actually I think it looks better in a lot of cases. And I actually feel the same way about the original Star Wars as well. There's just something that at this point CG you cannot replicate, you know, and CG is just CG. And as I'm going through these two trailers, this one, the original, is just more interesting right off the bat, you know, whereas the 2049, it seems kind of like expected, you know, or I hate to use the term, but it's kind of generic, you know, in a sense that you kind of already can get the feel and vibe of the movie just by watching the trailer. And obviously that has a lot to do with the way trailers are made nowadays. But if you watch the original 1982 trailer, you just immediately captured into it. I mean, you kind of like want to know way more than what the trailer is telling you, and it doesn't tell you much, you know. And as I'm going along here, there's a lot more emotion, you know, a lot more about the characters. There's Rutger Hauer, and just by the trailer alone, you just are extremely intrigued by it, you know. And it also, the original 1982 movie was actually a detective story. It's set in an extremely dystopian type of world, so not as bad as some dystopian futuristic movies, but it's overcrowded. People are being replaced by these android and replicants, and there's kind of like a war underneath it all between humans and replicants. And Deckard is caught in between, and he also happens to fall in love with the replicant, but he could be a replicant himself. And so when you watch this original trailer, not only does it look absolutely amazing even to this day, but story-wise, it just looks more intriguing, you know. And I know you can't tell everything from a trailer, but quite often nowadays in modern trailers, they pretty much give the whole movie away. And I'm not sure how else, you know, you can expand upon this universe in Blade Runner without comparing it to the original Blade Runner. And I'm really, you know, kind of shocked or basically dismayed that they actually kind of remade this. I mean, I know it's a sequel, but I think this is one movie, or, you know, some of the greatest movies, you feel like there really shouldn't be a sequel, okay? And this is one of them. I don't think it needed a sequel or a remake. I'm glad they didn't actually remake it, but I really don't think it needed a sequel, you know. And some movies, sequels work, but some movies, they just don't. Like, you know, this one is such a classic movie. It's also a huge genre-busting movie, you know. It absolutely created a lot of other sci-fi genres, you know, the whole noir, futuristic noir type genre, all these cityscapes that they have. It's been copied, or I guess reimagined, so many times, but none of them have ever gotten even close to the original Blade Runner. And the effects in this original movie are still mind-blowing today. I don't even know how they did it back then. And the soundtrack, and I can't remember the name of the composer of the original. I think it's Vegas or Vago. I can't remember the name. It starts with the V. That was memorable. I mean, it's pretty much timeless. And they tried to recapture that in Blade Runner 2049 with this new composer. But it's just not the same, you know. And that's kind of what I feel here. And, you know, nostalgia plays a big role into how we feel about movies. But so far, all these remakes, you know, from, and I know this isn't a remake, but it's a sequel, actually done by Ridley Scott. Movies like Alien Covenant, okay, or even Tron Legacy. You know, they try so hard to recreate the magic of the original. And a lot of times, even when it's the same exact director, you know, it just doesn't recapture that. And I don't think it can. You know, there's been very few remakes that I can think of that were either not as good as the original or not even close to it, or they just really ruin my memories of the original because of it, you know? And understand why they're doing this. You know, they want to, the studios, the people surrounding this, they actually definitely want to profit off these franchises as much as possible. However, it seems like nowadays it's like they do it for the sake of just doing it to cash in. And it also ruins, like I said, a lot of the memories of the original, because now some people obviously who are young, Blade Runner 2049 will be their first experience with this franchise, or with this whole mythology of this world. And then even when I look at the cast of characters from the original Blade Runner, and I know we don't know all the characters yet, but we know the actors and actresses in this movie, and you know, they're very talented actors and actresses. Obviously Harrison Ford is still in there, but when I'm just looking at the original cast and you know, my memories of watching the original Blade Runner, they were just so memorable. You know, there was nobody else that could actually play these characters or actually redo these characters, you know, and it's hard to recapture that, and I don't think that you can. And it's obvious from these movies, these remakes, or these sequels, that they just don't quite have that. And instead, you know, I kind of wish they would focus on creating new franchises or trilogies or whatever the case might be, instead of trying to rehash you know, classics, like true classics. And Blade Runner is one of my favorite movies of all time. It's right up there with Star Wars. Actually, it's my second, right behind Star Wars, the whole trilogy. I loved it that much. It had such a huge impact. And so those are my thoughts on Blade Runner 2049, the original Blade Runner, and remakes in general. I just, for the most part, I don't think it's a good idea, you know, especially something that's so classic. So, and you know, there's going to be a lot more remakes or reimaginings or sequels coming in the future. And, you know, I'm not looking forward to most of them, actually. And actually, I don't want to watch them, you know. In this case, for both Alien Covenant and Blade Runner 2049, I should be more excited to want to see them, but I don't, you know, and that's kind of sad, even when it's from the original director itself, here with Alien Covenant, Ridley Scott, and here from a brilliant director right here as well. But what are your thoughts on the new Blade Runner 2049 trailer, or the original Blade Runner, or any of these remakes, or any other remakes of franchises that you have seen recently? You know, leave your comments and ideas. I'd like to know. And also, if you had any other movies that are upcoming that are going to be remade that you think might be interesting, you know, leave those in the comments area as well. So as always, if you did get value out of these videos, you can leave a like and subscribe. And if you wanted to support my channel further, you could do that at patreon.com/Geek Outdoors. Thanks for checking out this episode. And as always, if you like these videos, be sure to click on the subscribe button. And for full written content, audio content, and additional geek stuff, head over to geekoutdoors.com, and I'll see you outdoors on the very next episode.